Orkhon inscriptions are discovered in the valley of Orkhun River, northern Mongolia, in 1889 and deciphered in 1893 by the Danish philologist Vilhelm Thomsen. They are on three large monuments erected in AD 732 and 735 in honor of the Turkish Prince Kül, died 731, his brother the Emperor Bilge, died 734, and Tonyukuk, died 716, the counselor of four Turkic Khagans. They relate in epic language the legendary origins of the Turks, the golden age of their history. The polished style of the writings suggests considerable earlier development of the Turkish language. There is also a 360-degree virtual reality tour of this documentary. This study was carried out only to give a general idea about these inscriptions.
Heaven-bred Turkish wise Bilge Khagan, I have mounted my throne. When the blue sky above and the dark earth below were made, then were made between them both the sons of men. Over the sons of men set themselves as rulers my forebears Bumi Khagan and Istemi Khagan. And having set themselves as rulers, they governed and kept in order the Turkish people's kingdom and polity. All the peoples in four quarters of the world were foes to them, but they waged wars against them and overcame all peoples in the four quarters of the world, made them keep the peace and bow their head and bend their knee. Towards the east they made them settle as far as the mountain forest of Kadir Khan, to the west as far as Temirkapı, the Iron Gate. Over so great a distance did they rule between these two extremes, bringing order to Turks who were without lord and without any tribal organization. They were wise Khagans, they were stout-hearted. Also their high officials were wise, were stout-hearted. Both begs and peoples were united. According as their fate was laid down, so they died. To witness the funeral and take part in the mourning, people and nations came from the east, west, north and south. Such illustrious Khagans they were. After them their younger brothers became Khagans, and their sons became Khagans. But the younger brothers were not like their elder brothers. The sons were not like their fathers. It was incapable Khagans that mounted the throne. It was bad Khagans. Their officials were likewise incapable, and they were bad. Because of lack of harmony between the begs and the people, and because of the Chinese people's cunning and craft and its intrigues, and because the younger and elder brothers chose to take counsel against one another and bring discord between begs and people, they brought the old realm of the Turkish people to dissolution and brought destruction on its lawful Khagans. But the Turks heaven above and the Turks holy Yarsub did as follows. To the end that the Turkish people should not perish and that it should again become a people, they raised up my father El-Tirish Khagan and my mother El-Bilge Khatun, supporting them from the heights of heaven. My father, the Khagan, 47 times he went campaigning and fought in 20 fights. By the will of heaven, we took from them that had a kingdom their kingdom, and them that had a Khagan we robbed of their Khagan. He made the foes to keep the peace, and made them bow their head and bend their knee. After having won so great a kingdom and such great power, he died. So my father's brother the Khagan took over the government. Having mounted the throne, my father's brother the Khagan organized anew the Turkish people and set it on its feet. The poor he made rich, those that were few he made many. Together with my father's brother the Khagan, I took the field, eastwards as far as the Green River and the Shantuk Plain. Westwards we made campaigns as far as Temirkapı. Altogether we made 25 campaigns and fought 13 times. Turkish nation hearkened to this. Did not heaven above fall down or the earth below open? Who could have destroyed your kingdom? Turkish people, tremble and go into yourself. It is some of you went eastwards, others of you went westwards. But in those lands whither you went, you attained only to this, that your blood flowed in streams and your bones lay like mountains. Through your foolishness and cowardice, my father's brother the Khagan found his death. I became the ruler of a people which within was without food, and outside was without clothing, a wretched and weak people. Together with my younger brother Kültegin did I deal with this, so that the people's name and fame won by my father and my father's brother might not perish. For the sake of the Turkish people, I have not slept by night, and by day not found rest. Together with my younger brother Kültegin and with my two sheds, I have toiled unto death. By so toiling, I have brought the peoples to not being as fire and water. For the naked people I found clothing, for people I made rich, the scanty people I made numerous. I have made the other which has a kingdom and a Khagan to stand higher. All the peoples in the four quarters of the world I have brought to keeping the peace and making an end of hostilities. They all have obeyed me and served me. All words which I wanted to say I have inscribed on this eternal stone. Read these inscriptions. I have won for my Turkish nations, for my people, their yellow gold, white silver, silk stuff and millet, riding horses and stallions, black sables and blue squirrels. I have brought it about that my people can live without cares. From the Chinese emperor I had artists to come. My request has not been refused. My lord the Tegin went up to heaven. As if heaven drums and dear moan, I felt sad. I, Yoluk Tegin, have inscribed the walls on stone in 1 month and 4 days. For a month and 4 days I have tarried here and written and had set up. My Turkish nation, my people, hear these words of mine and listen well. All people following me, eastwards to sunrise, southwards to midday, westwards to sunset, and northwards to midnight. I went on campaigns eastwards up to the Shantuk Plain. I almost reached the sea. I went on campaign southwards up to Locus Arsin. I almost reached Tibet. Westwards beyond the Pearl River, I went on campaigns up to the Iron Gate. Northwards I went on campaigns up to the Bayırkıland. I went on campaigns up to all these places. I saw the place from which the country can be controlled is only the Öteken mountain. You can trade with Chinese people, but be careful. The words of Chinese people have always been sweet, and silks have always been soft. Deceiving by their sweet words and soft silks, they attract people to come from remote places. After people have settled close to them, they make people be addicted to them even more. They do not let wise men and brave men come close. They corrupt beginning from a single man up to his whole family and clan. Having been deceived by their sweet words and soft silk, you Turk people died. O Turk people, you always regard yourself as satiated. You do not think of being hungry or satiated. Once satiated, you forget of being hungry. On account of being so, you didn't listen to the words of your Khagan, who had nourished you. You went away in all directions. You completely tired and become weak. Those who survived were utterly exhausted. But Tengri was gracious, and since I was granted with fortune, I succeeded to the throne. Having succeeded to the throne, I changed all poor and destitute people. I made poor people wealthy and few people numerous. These words of mine is blessed. All words which I wanted to say, I have inscribed on this eternal stone. Read these inscriptions. You Turk people now and lords. With the lords who had already been deceived there, I had inscribed. I get painters from the Chinese emperor and order them to inscribe. They put all my words on the stone. When the blue sky above and brown earth below were created, between them a human being was created. All the human beings, my ancestors Bumin Khagan and Istemi Khagan ruled. They ruled people by Turk laws. They led them and succeeded. From all four sides there were enemies. They sent 3 lance-bearing armies to conquer all those people in the 4 quarters of the world and made them still. They made bow those who had heads and made knees those who had knees. To eastwards up to the Kadir Khan mountain forests and westwards as far as the Iron Gate they went on campaigns. There were Turks between the 2 boundaries, having neither rulers nor masters. Wise Khagans were they, great Khagans were they. Their officials, too, were wise and brave indeed. They were great too. Both the lords and people were straightforward and honest. For this reason Khagans were able to rule the state. So they passed away. Then the younger brothers came Khagans, and their sons became Khagans. But apparently the younger brothers did not resemble their elder brothers. The sons did not resemble their fathers. Unwise Khagans succeeded to the throne. Bad Khagans succeeded to the throne. The lords and people went unfair. Since they give way to Chinese people, since they were defrauded by them, younger and elder brothers became revengeful and enemy to each other. Turk people were exiled. The Khagans were exiled. Turk Tengri above, Turk holy earth and water said as follows. In order to Turk people would not go to ruin, and in order to it should be a nation again, they rose my father Ilterish Khagan and my mother Bilge Hatun to the top and sat them upwards on the throne. My father the Khagan gathered together 17 brave lords. All having heard that they went off on campaigns, those who were in towns went off to the fields, and those who were on mountains went down, gathered together 70 brave men. Tengri gave them power. My father's army was like wolves. Their enemies were like sheep. Having gone on campaigns, forward and backward, gathered together 700 soldiers. After they had numbered 700 men, he brought them to order and trained people who had lost their state and their Khagan. People who had turned to slaves and servants. People who had lost the Turkish institutions, brought to order and followed the rules of my ancestors. My father the Khagan was on campaigns 47 times and engaged in 20 battles. By the grace of Tengri, he took the realm of those who had had a realm, and captured the Khagan of those who had had a Khagan. He subjugated enemies. He made powerful enemies knees and proud ones to bow. After he had founded empire and had gained power, passed away. You Turcologist lords and peoples, hear this. If the sky above did not collapse, and if the earth below did not go away, what would destroy your state and power? Since I had fortune and since I had good luck, my Tengri was gracious. I brought people to life who were going to perish and nourished them. I dressed naked people with clothes and made poor people rich and few people numerous. My younger brother Kultegin passed away. I mourned myself missing him. My eyes to see became as if they were blind. My mind to think became as if it were unconsciousness. I mourned myself missing him. To exist forever is reserved for God. Human beings have all been created in order to die. I, the wise Tonyukuk, was born in China. The Turkish people were at that time under China, but they broke away from China and got themselves a Khagan. They nevertheless again deposed their Khagan and again submitted to China. Then heaven may well have spoken as follows: I had given you a Khan, but thou hast forsaken that Khan, and again submitted. As a punishment for this submission, heaven caused them to die. The Turkish people perished or languished and fell to ruin. Turkish people, there was no longer any ordered community left. But they that had remained independent joined together, and they numbered 700. 2/3 of them were mounted. A third part was on foot. He that as chief led the 700 men was the Shat. Join me, he said, and amongst those who joined him was I, the wise Tonyukuk. Turkic Khagan with wise Tonyukuk by his side. To the south he defeated the Chinese. To the east the Kittites. To the north the Oghuz in great strength. His fellow in wisdom and his fellow in renown was I, myself. We were dwelling then in Chungay, Kuzi and Karakum. While we were dwelling there, there came a spy from the Oghuz. These were the words of the spy. A few Turks would seem to have made a rising. Their Khagan is said to be brave, and his counselor is said to be wise. If these two men are left alive, they will slay you, Chinese, say I. To the east they will slay the Khitans, say I. And us, the Oghuz, they will slay, say I. So let's attack them, Chinese from the south, and you, Khitai, attack them from the east. I shall attack them from the north. When I heard these words, sleep came not to me by night, nor rest by day. Then I made representation to my Khagan. My Khagan deigned to listen to the representation which I myself, the wise Tonyukuk, did make unto him. He said, "Take thou them as you may see fit." I made the army ready for the march. We fought, and heaven favored us. Our forefathers and the Turkish people had in their time reached Temirkapık and Tinası Oglu Yatıkma mountain, where at that time there was no lord. As I now had brought our army to this land, it carried home the yellow gold and the white silver, maidens and precious things in profusion. Because of his wisdom and his bravery, Turkic Khagan fought 7 times with Chinese, 7 times with the Khitans, and 5 times with the Oghuz. By heaven's grace, I have not let any armor-clad foe ride among the Turkish people, or any horse with bearing grain gallop round. If Turkic Khagan had not toiled, and if I myself following him had not toiled, there would not have been any kingdom or any people. Since he toiled, and since I myself following him have toiled, both the kingdom has become a kingdom, and the people a people. Now I myself am grown old, and am far advanced in years. For the Turkish Bilge Khagans people I have had this written, I, the wise Tonyukuk.